The IEEPA tariffs. Through many twists and turns, the story continues to unfold, and it's far from over. Today I want to talk about where we're at and what could happen next. So for a quick summary of where we're at, earlier this year, the Trump administration used the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, or IEEPA, to impose tariffs on our trading partners, including trafficking tariffs on China, Canada, and Mexico. And then the reciprocal tariffs in April that put at least a 10% minimum baseline tariff on all of our trading partners, and then a higher country-specific tariff on some of our partners. If you want to learn more about IEEPA and these tariffs, you can watch a video I posted around June 26. In May, the Court of International Trade held that the president did exceed his authority under IEEPA and that these IEEPA tariffs were unlawful. This was appealed to the U.S. Court of Appeals, the Federal Circuit, who affirmed. They agreed with the Court of International Trade. So now it's going to the Supreme Court in November, and hopefully there'll be a decision by the end of the year. And if the Supreme Court rules that the use of IEEPA for these tariffs was lawful, then the tariffs will continue to be collected. And that'll be a big win for this administration. Just as a side note, that the tariffs will continue to be collected until the Supreme Court does make a ruling. But if the Supreme Court rules otherwise, it seems obvious that US CBP will no longer have the authority to collect these tariffs, and the tariffs that have been collected will likely need to be refunded. If this is the case, it's probably a question of not of if, but when and how. At this point, US CBP will have to instruct on the process of how the refunds will be obtained. Refunds will not be sent out automatically. It will likely be a process of post-summary corrections and protests. There's going to be a vast amount of entries that will need to be reviewed, probably some backlog. It's going to take some time, but as I've stated in the past, have your entry summaries that have been affected by IEEPA tariffs available, proof of payment, and any other supporting documents. I think a big question on a lot of people's minds is, if the Supreme Court does rule that the IEEPA tariffs are unlawful, what's next? This administration has shown they're eager to use tariffs as tools for certain economic and trade policy goals. While IEEPA does provide or allow for a broad range of power and action, there are other channels that this administration can take. Some of these other channels are more limited in scope or have restrictions, but I'm going to cover a few of them right now. One of these channels is continued use of Section 301 of the Trade Act of 1974. I did cover Section 301 in the last video that I made. This basically allows the president to act when an investigation has been conducted into a foreign trading partner and has been deemed that the partner is using practices that are either unfair or discriminatory to U.S. commerce. Another way could be continued use of Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act of 1962, which allows the president to impose tariffs and restrictions for national security purposes on specific imports. You see this, for example, right now on steel and aluminum, automotive and automotive parts. The next way that most of us probably haven't even heard of before is Section 122 of the Trade Act of 1974, which allows for a tariff of 15% to be imposed for a maximum of 150 days to deal with trade deficits and depreciation of the US dollar. No prior investigation is needed, but congressional approval is needed to extend beyond 150 days. And the last option I'll mention is Section 338 of the Tariff Act of 1930, which has never been used by a U.S. president before, but basically allows the president to impose tariffs of up to 50% on imports from other countries that discriminate against U.S. commerce. This could be an attractive option for this administration. You don't need approval from Congress, nor do you need to present evidence to the public. Whatever the case, the story is far from over, and tariffs are not going away anytime soon, but I do suggest you continue to monitor US CBP guidance. I will continue to update you where I can. If there's something specific you want to talk about or questions you have, please reach out. I'd be happy to discuss.